Good afternoon. My name is Peter Shayed, and I want to welcome you to the role of public art in thriving communities, featuring Rosario, Marquardt, and Roberto Behar of R&R Studios from Coral Gables, Florida. I'm Peter Shayed. I am the City Council representative for District 9, so you are in my backyard, literally. And we're in this beautiful Pearl Theater, which is part of our revitalization of West Ashley. I'm also the chairman of the West Ashley Revitalization Commission, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about that in just a few seconds before I introduce our guest tonight. I want to thank the host of this evening's event, thanks to the Charleston Park Conservancy, who is the primary host, along with the City of Charleston's Commission on the Arts and the Office of Mayor John Tecklenburg. Tonight's presentation is an outgrowth of the West Ashley Revitalization Commission and this book, Plan West Ashley. And let me just talk to you a little bit about that for a few seconds. So the West Ashley Revitalization Commission was formed in 2016 to overlook how to revitalize West Ashley. And we hired out a consulting firm to help us prepare this plan for West Ashley. Donna Jacobs, one of our original commission members, is with us today. And the result of that plan provided this blueprint. And this blueprint is divided into several chapters: community design and land use, transportation, green infrastructure and sustainability, housing, and economic development. And I'm telling you this because I think this is going to sort of tie in to the presentation that you're going to hear in a few seconds. Now, to get to that plan, there were several public forums, charrettes, and workshops that we had, and the public was very much engaged into this process. And I just want to share with you some words that we extracted from the public as to what their vision was for West Ashley, and see how this sort of ties in with what we're doing this evening. These are the words that are key words: vibrant, green, livable, accessible, connected, home, beautiful. And this sort of ties into what we're here to talk about this evening. A component of the plan was for the public art of the Greenway and the Bikeway, for which the Conservancy was supported by a grant from the National Endowment of the Arts. R&R Studios was a leader of the public art consultant team for the Greenway and Bikeway planning process. And we've invited them here to talk more generally about the role public art can play in revitalizing communities and helping create great public spaces. So go back to those words of vibrant and green and home and beautiful, and you'll see the connection of what we're doing here this evening. This is part of the community conversation that the city's Commission on the Art has committed to fostering and supporting. And tonight's event is a first in a series of conversations about the role of public art in Charleston as the city looks to create a citywide public art plan. Don't you love democracy? Because this is what we do. In a democratic society, the people come together to take part into things that affect them the most. And this is what we're doing this evening. We're taking part in input and sharing ideas to see how we can make our community more better. And that's what we're doing here this evening. There'll be some other events held in the future. You'll hear about those dates a little bit later on, I think, tonight. Let me talk to you a little bit about who Roberto and Rosario are. They are the founding partners of R&R Studios. They have taught, lectured, and served as visiting critics at major universities including Harvard GSD, Yale University, Cornell, Universita IUAV di Venezia, and the Ecole Polytechnique Federale di Lausanne, and have been visiting artists and fellows at the Getty Research Center in Los Angeles and the American Academy in Rome. Quite a resume. Their multidisciplinary practice weaving together visual arts, architect, landscape, and the city has been recognized with multiple awards and over 350 publications worldwide. Their work has been exhibited internationally in solo and group museums, shows, and is the permanent collection of the Museum of Modern Art in Buenos Aires, the Archives d'Architectes Modernes in Brussels, and the Perez Art Museum Miami and Madison MOCA, among others. The fingerprints are everywhere. Rosario and Roberto are known for creating social sculptures for public pleasure, all together now in downtown Denver, the biggest M in the world in Miami, the living room in their iconic Miami home turned inside out in public squares in Mexico, in Copenhagen, and most recently in, I'm going to butcher this, BESAME,
Besame mucho, yeah.
That's pretty good, okay. And Supernova at the Coachella Museum and Arts Festival 2016 and 2018, which suggests a world of possibilities where the fantastic becomes part of everyday life. There are currently competing landmarks in public squares in Seattle, Phoenix, Coral Gables, and Puerto Rico. They have known each other since childhood. They received diplomas in architect in Argentina, and later attended the legendary Institute for Architect and Urban Studies in New York City. And in 2007, they published the Peace Project, and later in 2011, the Living Room and Museum Works in 2013. The first 3 volumes of R&R Studios' incomplete works. 2 additional volumes are scheduled for publication in 2019. And Roberto teaches at the University of Miami School of Architects. So without further ado, our guest this evening.
Great. Excellent. Rosario, Roberto, thank you all for coming. Thank you all for bringing us here. We love Charleston, we love West Ashley, and thanks a lot to the Conservancy and Harry, although they're not here, the National Endowments for the Arts and the City of Charleston for making us part of this fantastic project. As you have heard, our accent comes from Argentina, where we were born some time ago. First of all, happy birthday to you. Today is your birthday, and it's also mine. So, we already have something in common. And our work, indeed, has to do with building projects to share memories. That's the objective of one of the objectives of our work. And what we are going to do tonight, I'm looking at her for her to speak. She's going to look back at me, and she's not going to speak until I begin to speak too much, and she's going to stop me.
And then I will stop you.
So don't worry about it. I won't get upset. So what we're going to do tonight is share with you a number of projects that we have done here, there, here and there. We have organized a presentation. First, we're going to show you our favorite work of public art in the world. And I want you to think about which one that one could be, because indeed all of you know it. I repeat, it's a work of public art, but you all know it very, very, very well. And it's part of your story. It's part of our story, indeed. And I will go into that in a second. But the presentation in general dwells upon a number of projects that we have done, from the very large to there are 3 scales. There's one that is at the scale of the city, and there are others that are they're all landmarks, but at different scales, from the city to the neighborhood to what we may call resting moments. And those 3 scales are the scales that we have thought are important to think about in terms of West Ashley as well. So when doing the public art master plan for West Ashley, we thought it was important to think of public art projects at different scales. You know, the scale of the city, how the greenway and the bikeway interacted with important moments in town, such as meeting with the river or the new park that is there, that is to be built, neighborhood moments, important neighborhood intersections, such as places like where St. Andrew's School is located, where the tennis court, tennis center is located, at the university, experimental facility along the Greenway, and rest moments along the way, the three different scales of the public art master plan. But you may look at that public art master plan at the website of the Charleston Parks Conservancy. Tonight what we're going to do is share a number of projects that we have done and a number of projects that we are in the process of completing as we speak tonight.
And also what we want to share with you is our idea of public art that is a little bit different than some other ideas of how to
what we are interested in doing is what we call social sculptures, works of art that are instruments to bring us together. So, three of the perhaps most important and well-known projects that we have realized: one in Miami, the living room, the biggest end in the world, also in Miami, and all together now in Denver, Colorado, in downtown Denver. So perhaps what these three projects have together, have in common, is their landmark quality. I mean, each one of them is instantly memorable somehow, and is a work of art that we can name and recognize. The first one is a living room. It's a big living room, but a living room nevertheless. The second one is an M, and the third one is building blocks in a way. And what they have in common is that they dwell upon memories that we all share, memories of childhood, perhaps, when we all played with a dollhouse, that describe the interior of a home, memories of us learning the alphabet with a toy letter, memories of playing with building blocks. And we think that to uncover memories that we may have in common is a worthwhile exercise, if you wish. The living room is a home that we have turned inside out, in a way. It's a home that is somehow unfinished for each one of us to complete. And most importantly, it's a place where to meet. Let's meet at the living room. So the living room gives you a certain image, an image that has no doubts about what it is. Let's meet at the living room. We don't have to explain what the living room is about, because when confronted with the event, you will recognize it as the living room. Although it is absolutely new, you have never seen anything like that before, but you recognize it as your own. The same might be the case with the M. The M is something is a letter that we have all written. It's a letter that we have all seen. It's a letter that also reminds us of perhaps of our mothers, perhaps of the place that we come from, if we are from Mexico or Maryland. Perhaps it reminds us of our daughter, whose name is Mary, or or Maryland, if we come from that state. Or perhaps it's a kind of model of multiple memories, in a way, that is kind of sort of becomes available for each one of us to project into that project whatever each one of us may need.
Yes, and also is this balance between the familiar, the domestic, and the fantastic. And we always try to bridge these both worlds, because we think that the pieces have to have an emotional connection with the people. So you really you recognize the pieces, you feel some kind of personal connection with them, but at the same time are extraordinary in the sense that are fantastic, that suddenly the M is the biggest M in the world, but it's a sign that wants to tell us something or what it is, and it makes you get involved with the piece. And also, our intention is that everything that we do in the public realm somehow becomes personal. we really want to have an intimate relation with the viewer, not just one more sculpture that you say, oh, what a great artist, but you don't feel some kind of connection. So the pieces are inspired by the people that will look at it.
The pieces are to promote a conversation, if you wish. If the piece is able to promote a conversation, we are successful. If the living room promotes a conversation, promotes a question, if the living room makes oneself ask oneself, what is that about? That reminds me of a home that is no longer. No, that might be a home that we still need to build. No, but that really reminds me of the dollhouse that I played with when I was a kid. In any case, if the work of art promotes a question that each one of us can answer in a particular way, we feel that the work of art is in part successful. If in addition to that, it kind of it supports a place where we can meet, then it becomes perhaps a social sculpture. Without further ado, I'll share our favorite work of art. Our
Public art.
Of public art. It's something that today we don't recognize as public art, and it's in fact the Statue of Liberty. Think about it. It is a statue. You know, it is a statue that we can actually purchase at this size. You know, it is also one that exists in a number of cities. I think it's like 12 cities around the world. One of them, Buenos Aires, where I was born, at about 12 feet high. You know, one of the models that was used when the statue was built. You know, and it's something that we recognize as a beautiful lady, but that is, again, extraordinary because it's 150 feet tall, and we have never seen anything like that. Not only that, but she's on top of another 154 feet for a total of 300 feet. 300 feet, that's a 30-story building. Okay, and this extraordinary, and I mean extraordinary with capital letters, work of public art was built in 1886, 10 years after the centennial, actually, of the independence of the United States. The first fragment of it, as you may know, was brought to America for the centennial, 1876 in Philadelphia. It was part of the exhibition. The head actually was placed for a while in Madison Square in New York City, and promoted the raising of funds to build the pedestal. About 120,000 people actually donated money to build the Statue of Liberty. The French donated the statue, but Americans built the pedestal. Actually, we almost ran out of money as the pedestal was built, but Mr. Pulitzer, the newspaper publisher, actually organized this incredible effort to raise the money for the pedestal in stone. And then the last picture, which is, to me, is one of the most fantastic ones. Here we see a number of people taking a kind of 40s version of a contemporary selfie at the very head, at the crown of the Statue of Liberty. So think about it. This is a statue that we can get inside, that we go on top of, and that we look at the new world from. It is the size of America, and in fact it's a gateway. It is a gateway to this fantastic country that we all live in. It has the size of the country. It is colossal somehow. It is the size of the Grand Canyon, metaphorically speaking, of course. It is the size of the hope of those who are arriving and see this as the gateway to their new world.
But also what is incredible is the courage of the city to be able to understand the project and build it.
This is, in fact, the first skyscraper ever built. 30 stories high. It was the tallest structure in America at that point, okay? So, with that in mind, and incredible courage that our predecessors exhibited, we arrived to Miami. And Miami is a city that is super young. It's just about 100 and change years old. And one of the incredible transformations that happened early on in the 20th century was the construction of a number of islands. I'm sure some of you may have been there, a number of islands on the bay between Miami Beach and Miami proper. And these islands are named, some of them are called the Venetian Islands, Venetian Causeway along the Venetian Islands, etc. And it's among these islands that are built between Miami and Miami Beach, and a little island right there was built. And that island that was built in honor of Mr. Flagler. Mr. Flagler was a millionaire who owned railroads, who took the railroad to Miami. He actually came because of a lady that was very smart and enticed him to come over. She sent him a basket of oranges, and after a storm, a cold winter, etc. So she kind of seduced him to come over. She was a really good businesswoman and exchanged half of her land for him to come over and bring the train. So the half of the land that remained became in fact downtown Miami. She was forgotten, the monument was built for him alone. And we decided that was not the best thing to do. So we decided to change the status of affairs. So
the island at the bottom is the original island. Then the island little by little was corroded and...
Yeah, I mean, it was reshaped by the elements, you know. And this is the status of the island, more or less today. Okay, so we thought that it was important that it was an incredible opportunity to reshape the island in the form of a star. And what are we doing with this project? What we are doing is creating a kind of aerial monument within the bay. A monument that is to perform as a kind of aerial landmark that one sees as one arrives to Miami, not by boat as one does to New York, as one did to New York City, but actually from the air, you know, when one comes with the plane. At the same time, we thought, you know, as sea level is rising, we thought that it was important to bring these earliest of monuments in Miami to a different level, and perhaps as the bay became privatized, because all those islands have private homes, very expensive, in fact, waterfront homes. We thought that it was important to preserve one place as public space, a place where we can all meet. And it's in that place that a new botanical garden is to be built. So, what is the Star of Miami? Well, the Star of Miami is a landmark to be seen from the air. It's an aerial landmark. It is, and at the same time, is a botanical park that within the island, a number of things begin to happen that can be described as public art as well, at different scales, benches, etc. And here we see the island, you know, within the bay. You know, and you know the way that one would see it when coming from the air. Want to start?
Yes. Okay. So this is the project. We have this developer in Miami that he's an art collector too, and that is, I think you told the story, or I don't know if it was this morning.
Yeah.
But he told us, I have this building. I have no money, but I need for you to do something extraordinary to call the attention of this part of town.
You can do whatever you want, you know, but I have no money.
But you're free to do it.
He's a very nice guy, actually. Greg Robbins is his name. So with that in mind, he showed us the building. The building is a warehouse in the so-called design district in Miami. The warehouse, as you can see, is perfectly hermetic. a kind of bunker, you know, in a place where, like in Charleston, you know, it's really nice to be outdoors. You know, so we decided that was a shame, that in fact we needed to open it up. As you can see here, we began to open windows and open a gallery, as well as to begin to build something.
And to open the corner.
Yeah, open the corner up as to introduce a kind of little square of sorts that became the place where the neighborhood could meet. So this project was indeed a discovery for us, because many people ask us, well, what did you do? The lamps? Did you do the sofa? Did you paint the mural on the wall? No, we did it all, actually, and from the very beginning to the end. Because in fact, our little office actually is, one of the characteristics is that it's a multidisciplinary office. So in our studio, you know, landscape architects, urban designers, and artists kind of meet and work together. And that's perhaps what makes our studio most unique.
But also, in doing the living room, we discovered the importance of creating places, not just to have the art piece, but try always to create a place for people to meet. So in this case, we did this big sofa, but also that corner was private property. So we were able to manage the private property to become public. So that was a very important thing, that we were able to create a little square out of a private property, but at the same time, that public space that we were creating, we tried to make it a personal space, so people feel at home in the living room.
And feeling at home within the city is actually one of the purposes of our work, one of the objectives of our work, you know, to feel at home within the city. So our projects, the idea of our projects is that they are successful when they become personal, when a public project becomes personal, when a public project is able to establish an intimate connection with oneself, it's at that moment that the project is successful. So if you're in Denver and you look up at these building blocks, you know, that spell out all together now, perhaps at some point you can remember once upon a time when you danced after that very song of the Beatles, or you may remember your kids playing around with building blocks. Here we are again, Rosario and I, in a kind of performative picture.
Arriving home. No. Regarding the All Together Now, after we did the piece, we were in Denver, and there were some young people, some young kids. They used the sea to get together. And we told them, well, do you know why it says All Together Now? Because you may not know the Beatles. Oh, no, yes, we know them. We call this Yellow Submarine. All Together Now.
They renamed the piece, actually, after Yellow Submarine. So that was really fun. So the wallpaper, for your information, is actually hand-painted. As it used to be the case in colonial America, we did it the old-fashioned way. The wallpaper is handmade, is hand-painted. The window is framed as a painting in order to discover different paintings of the sky as the sky changes colors and clouds go by. And this is another version. You know, we thought that we will never be able to do anything like it. When we finished the project, we were super excited with the project, but we really realized very quickly, because of the response, that it was a great project, but we thought we will never be able to do a project as good as this one. But we had another opportunity, and we were giving another incredible chance. The director of the Museum of Art in Fort Lauderdale told us, hey, what do you guys think we can do with the entrance of our museum?
So everybody that has a boom bunker, they call us to
Yes, so This is South Florida. This is the architecture that we inherited from the 60s. It's really remarkable in many ways. How the degree of enclosure that they were able to exercise. But nevertheless, we thought that it was a missed opportunity that somehow we can transform this into big public loggia. And believe it or not, in front of this entrance loggia, as we call it, there is a park and there is a river. So in fact, this becomes the point of view, where to have parties and to look at the river and to look at the river front. And last but not least, it's
another scale of public.
The third scale, another scale of public art that we have been engaged with is our project, a project that we have done in Austin, Texas. We call it Austin Open Room, where we did an open air dining hall. You want to talk about it?
Well, I think with these projects, what we try to convey is our idea of the social space. What is our intention with public art? To take every opportunity to create places for people to meet. Not the people that you regularly meet, your friends, but also to meet people that you may not have the chance to meet. So in this case, we say, what about a table in a public space where people go for lunch or make a party? And amazingly enough, it really works. And people use it and took ownership of the table.
But of course, the table is, Rosario says, it's truly, it's one that you know very, very well, because it can be the table where you had lunch with or dinner with your grandparents once upon a time, at some point, with grandma, at a big important Christmas or Passover, because the table is in fact a tablecloth that has been frozen in a way, in memory. And once you realize that the table is also a tablecloth that has been frozen in time, and that is part of everyone's memory, it's at that point that this element of everyday life becomes fantastic. And it's at that point that the project clicks and allows us to share a thought. Let's meet at the dining hall, at the park, and everybody knows where that is located. Because there is an image that we share that is built upon memories that we, in fact, already had in common. So it's not our project. Rosario's and Roberto's dining hall is your dining hall, in a way. It's not mine or hers, it's yours, but it's built upon memories that we all have.
Are those lights so that it can be used at night?
Yes, in fact, yeah. And in fact, we designed the light features as well. We designed the light features as well. They are like tree-like in a way. So we wanted them to somehow relate with the idea of being outdoors, if you will.
But also, it's a lamp that could be indoors. It's not just the regular lamp that you see in the parks.
And these are 3 projects that we are involved with as we speak. One is in Seattle. These are 3 little squares, that we are building, and you can see the pictures below of the
pieces being fabricated.
The pieces being fabricated at the shops, and that metal pieces. One is again the kind of building block in a way. And we have another M with another, that's for Mesa, Arizona.
How tall are those?
This one, in order not to compete with Miami, we did a 42, exactly the same height. So they can both claim to be the tallest one.
But the tallest is coming.
But the tallest is coming, and it's going to be here, actually. We're going to do it at 43.
42 and a half.
42 and a half, at least. 42 and the idea is to do it perhaps somewhere in Maryville, and we think that it could be quite extraordinary. But it would be an interesting exercise for you to think, what is the type of M that these guys have in mind? We had thought of a letter Rosario in particular has thought of a letter, that has can I call it a feminine aspect to
Yes,
it?
yes, yes.
Because we wanted to celebrate both Marys that were involved in the foundation of Maryville. So we thought that the letter for Maryville had to have a kind of feminine touch that Rosario was very, very careful to bring forward, to draw forward. Okay? I confess, I didn't do that one. She was the one. And so this is very exciting because we're completing this project. They should be completed within this year, and we're looking forward to see.
But also, we are very excited because now people are calling us to do projects when they understand that it's not just a sculpture, but it's a sculpture with a social space around. And for us, it took us a long time, but now that is what we do, and that's what they call us for.
And it's important for us. I mean, perhaps because we are new Americans, perhaps because we're immigrants, to this country. We have a very, very optimistic outlook, and we think that everything is possible. It wasn't easy to become an American citizen. It took many, many years, but eventually we made it. And we're very happy about it. And perhaps because of that, I don't know, but we think that everything is still possible. And
after the Statue of Liberty.
After the Statue of Liberty, anything is possible. So we should be, and after we have been at the moon, we should reclaim, in a way, this sense of possibilities that this country offers to all. So with that in mind, I present to you our latest project, actually, for Miami. This is the kind of skyline we see in many new American cities, such as LA, Seattle, Houston, cities that have incorporated skyscrapers as part of their downtowns. And it's in these places that you often see a kind of overexposure to advertisement, that claims the public sphere, that asks us to buy this or that, continuously. It's kind of a visual pollution that doesn't allow us to sometimes think. So with that in mind, we thought long and hard about what can we do with this? How can we reinvent how can we reinvent the skyline of American cities? So we're developing this project. And these are proposals. These are proposals that we put forward, and that hopefully somebody will pick up and will eventually build. So this is a proposal that involves a number of American cities. I'm going to present the one for Miami. So here it goes. So the idea of the project, perhaps you can talk about this. I always push Rosario to speak.
You put me in the spot.
I know.
But I think that if we feel that the city loves us, if the city is telling us, I love you, we may also start loving the city. And suddenly we can have a beautiful relation with the city. Most of the time, in every city, you always see the problems. We always complain about this and about that. But perhaps if the city tells us, I love you, that is what your mom told you when you were a kid, you feel like, okay, if she loves me, I can love you too, and we can start a new relation. But at the same time, it's a very personal message. So suddenly, the city speaks to your ear, speaks to each one of you, and that is our utmost purpose when we do a project. We really want the projects to touch you. And in this case, I love you. We always have heard some way.
We all need it. First of all, we all need it.
And we all want to.
Hopefully each one of us has heard it at some point, at least on our early childhood, And to remember that moment when your mom tells you, I love you, just because of that, it might be a worthwhile monument to build, for our kids and those to come after us. So, in any case, thanks a lot for your time and attention. We love you as well, and thank you for coming.